I'm Dennis Young. I'm founder of Issues in Education. I'm very proud to have with me Jeff Vose, who's the Regional Office of Education, number 51 from Sangamon and Menard counties. And what's just interesting about Jeff is his background. He was the chair of the governor's task force on safety in education, which generated about a 250-page document that shared all kinds of ways of dealing with school safety. But the topic of school safety is interesting. It hasn't gone away. It's only continued to kind of morph. We have dealt with the threat assessment from the perimeter. Now we're trying to deal with the threat assessment in terms of behavioral and how that works. So tell me what you're doing in terms of that whole behavioral threat assessment and how you organize your teams around that.
Sure. Back up a little, you had talked about a task force that I got appointed to be the chair of. That was about 5 years ago.
Was it that long ago by now?
5 years ago,
Wow.
we created, we made lots of recommendations and best practice for school districts. And one, I know you've been talking about mandates today. One mandate came out of that task force, and it was that school districts were required to do a random drill so they could be better prepared if there was a crisis in their schools. So that happened. That all came out of Sandy Hook, the tragedy in Sandy Hook. And now we move forward 5 years, and we had a tragedy in the Florida high school.
Right.
And we brought together a working group, school safety working group in Illinois, which is a mixture of law enforcement, legislative, and stakeholders in education. And that's where we are today. We have actually 14 more recommendations that have come out of this working group. I know you're talking to Ben Schwarm here in a little bit, and I'd like to, you had mentioned focus on the behavioral threat assessment teams. There's a group out of Western Illinois, University. The school campus safety office received close to $1 million grant to create these behavioral threat assessment teams on a regional level to identify any concerns or issues that may come up in school districts and prevent, if there's students that look like they may be in trouble or have concerns, that they can get them the help they need through mental health services.
So tell me something about these teams. Who are on these teams and how many people are there on a team?
There's approximately 4 people. We would have obviously state police, local law enforcement, first responders, and also each ROE has someone trained up on social emotional issues and mental health, and also we would want to work with any mental health professionals in each of the regions. So as you know, there's 38 of me elected regional school superintendents across the state. So we're trying to make it a regional approach, so it'd be great if every school district could create a behavioral team, but we know from a time and effort, it's difficult to do that, so we would like to at least have it on a regional level.
Where does a school principal fit into these teams, since they're on site every day?
What would we like? What with that grant that they received at Western Illinois, we'd like to bring some train the trainer opportunities where we can get local school administrators trained in these aspects so they can be better prepared in identifying issues or concerns with students that may, be creating a situation that could be harmful to students or anyone in the buildings.
I can tell you, my experience at the behavioral assessment, we're designing a high school right now. And the existing high school, I'm standing with the principal outside the school, and he is saying hello to every student that walks in that door and having a conversation with them, very sharp. And when it was all over and school started, he knew about 4 or 5 students that he needed to follow up on. That I didn't pick up on. I didn't know the child, but he did. And family problems at home that they bring to school with them, and all of that. So I'm amazed.
And that's where I think, unfortunately, is where we've come to with all these tragedies, that teachers need to be prepared, parents and administrators be prepared for the unexpected, and identifying signs in students, social emotional issues in students, so we can prevent these types of tragedies from happening.
I've been talking to some others about the equity gap and how important it is to have the family part of engagement in the education of their child. But it seems like trying to engage that family also into what's going on with that child is part of this behavioral assessment, is it not?
It is, and it's also trying to get the family engaged in what's going on with the student. A lot of times they may be unaware that
Right.
the student may be having these thoughts or
Right.
issues in their lives.
Right.
And if we can better prepare our communities, and you and I have had these
Yeah.
conversations
Oh,
in
yeah.
the past
Yeah.
on your issues in education
Yeah.
like we are today,
Yeah.
that the more you wrap the awareness around the community, and if they see something, say something,
Uh-huh.
and just being as best prepared to avoid any type of tragedy or something going on with our students.
Well, I know as I talk around to all the different states that everybody's dealing with the issue on their own, and I think everybody would benefit from sharing kind of what each group's doing. What you've done has been fabulous to get way out in front of this.
Right.
And the resources that you have is, I don't know how you attract all that.
It's an amazing process that you and I
Yeah.
have talked for on and off for 5 years.
Yeah.
And another thing that you deal with, the other component we have here is the site assessment teams.
Yes, yes.
So what we'd like to accomplish with that is, as you know, ROEs, one of our roles is to do the health, life, safety inspection of buildings. For example, in my 2 counties, there's 109 buildings. We also check off on their crisis management plans.
Very good.
And so we're trying to get law enforcement, first responders, fire to, we're trying to do the same thing with the behavioral threat assessment teams. We'd like to do the site assessment teams where you get your county police, law enforcement, first responders working closely with the school districts to make sure their facilities are best prepared for a crisis or anything that they foresee that could be troubling with the student or an active shooter or someone trying to penetrate their building.
Yeah, well, I know about 4 years ago, we had the security symposium in our office, and you
Yes.
attended.
Yes.
And around the table were superintendents and law enforcement. And it's come a long way since then.
Yes.
It really has.
Just all the groups working together. I don't, in some districts, there may be this, it's not happening in our community. And I think what you've done a good
Right.
job of, and I think by you brought 2 states together, which
Right.
is
Yeah.
to share ideas. And I just think you can't put your head in the sand anymore, that it can happen anywhere. As you see on the news every day,
Right.
there's something happening. It's not always in a school building.
You can't deny it.
It's in the community. And I think the more we can prepare our constituents and our community to be prepared for this stuff, I mean, it's just paramount to saving some lives.
Well, it's interesting. We finished the elementary school for Muhammad Seymour, which has security, secure playground and all the
Beautiful
rest.
facility.
Yeah, it really turned out nice. And what I found is that there was a field trip from another elementary school, from an older type design, that came to the newer design. And they spent a couple hours in that school. And when they left, they saw a distinct difference when there's something that's been well planned, well designed, well managed
Right.
as a safe school, because you can't learn if you don't feel safe.
Right.
And these kids get it. You
And
know, they
have
really
been-
get it.
I'll give you much credit, Dennis. You've been
Yeah.
on cutting edge on this. And another exciting thing that's happened in my area, we tried to pass the school sales facilities tax
Yeah.
in 2008.
Yeah.
And we finally got, all the educators got together and the community rallied around us, and we got that school sales facilities tax passed in Sangamon and Menard County.
Congratulations.
It could infuse about $20 million into our communities to better equip our buildings. You can use that on school security and safety, but also infrastructure needs, and we're pretty excited about that.